Here is a quick sales hack on how to be able to connect with people more. You ready for it? Using analogies. I've discovered that when you speak in analogies, when you're in a sales consultation, a sales presentation, you tend to connect better with the consumer. Okay, let me explain why. We first have to understand how the brain works. There's this great book called Pitch Anything, which I would highly recommend anyone in sales to read. And he talks about the croc brain. There's the croc brain, the midbrain, and the neocortex. Now, when we sell to somebody, we think we're talking to the neocortex. The neocortex is the part of the brain where it makes your decisions, right? That's the part of the brain to when you're deciding to do something or not do something, that's the part of the brain that you use. However, most of us are actually talking to the croc brain. The croc brain's responsibility is to simply filter out the information as quick as possible. And if you can get through the croc brain, then you can get to the neocortex. And when we're selling, initially we're talking to the croc brain. Now remember, the croc brain, it's quick, right? It's the part of your mind that's fight or flight. It's the part of your mind to where if a lion pops out of you, that's a part of your brain where it either filters it and says, all right, do I fight it or do I run away from it, right? That's our fight or flight syndrome to where we all have. So when we pitch, when we sell, we first are speaking to the croc brain. The croc brain wants things fast and wants novel, okay? Novel means newness, okay? If the croc brain can quickly pick up that something is gonna take a lot of energy, a lot of time to understand it, or it's boring, it's gonna quickly weed it out and say, no, I'm not interested, I'm good, I don't wanna do this. So we have to learn how to speak to the croc brain. And one of the best ways of speaking to the croc brain is through speaking in analogies. Now, an analogy is simply taking something that is complex and condensing it into something simple by speaking about something that they already understand. For example, if you're trying to speak about rocket science, right, to someone that's never done rocket science, if you really want that person to understand, you got to find something that they understand already and connect it with rocket science. So using analogies in the close or at the doors is really powerful because you're able to take something that they maybe don't understand, right? They don't understand solar and how it works, and condense it into something that they can understand, all right? The first one, the tier system. Sometimes if you're working in a market where there is a tier system where tier 1 is X amount per kilowatt and tier 2 is X amount per kilowatt, sometimes that the consumer doesn't really understand that, or they don't understand the concept of what happens if they use more than what the system produces. So you take that concept and explain it in something they already understand. For example, people understand how to fill up their cars. They understand that the price of gasoline is $4 a gallon, $5 a gallon, whatever it is in their area, and they understand that they only pay one price for their power. So an analogy can be, hey, how this works, how the tier system currently works with the utility is, imagine if you went to the gasoline station and they said, hey, the first 5 gallons will be $5 a gallon. Anything above that is now $7 a gallon. Would you say that's a good deal, Mr. Customer? They would of course say no. And that is how you can help them understand the tier system with the utilities, or what happens if they go over what the system produces, right? Because people understand that in solar, if you use more than what the system produces, right, you're back in with the utilities. So how you explain that concept is by, again, talking about gasoline. Hey, if you go over the 5 gallons, let's say in this hypothetical example, you have to pay the $7, $8, whatever you want to use in that example. So that's number 1, all right? Number 2, transmission and distribution, okay? Regardless of what utility you're in, everybody is paying something for shipping. Now to a consumer, they don't understand the concept of how they're being billed for their shipping. Great, explain in a way that makes sense. Everybody gets Amazon. Everybody uses Amazon. So say, hey, Mr. Customer, imagine this. Imagine you pay $20 for something on Amazon. And when it shows up to your door, they say, hey, it's gonna be $20 for shipping and delivery. Would you pay that? Would you be upset? They're like, yeah, I'll be upset. Great. Well, that is how transmission and distribution works with your utility. You pay for the power and you're also paying a pretty high markup for the transmission and distribution. Boom, now they understand it. All right, number 3, okay, net metering. Every utility has some type of net metering policies in place. First of all, you better understand it, okay? I find that a lot of sales guys in solar don't really understand how net metering really works in their own market. First of all, you need to understand it. And the best way to explain it is a bank account, okay? All of us bank with somebody. So my talk track would go, okay, Mr. Customer, imagine you went to the bank and you deposit $1,000, but then you go back tomorrow and you need to withdraw $500. Can you do that? They would say, yeah. Okay, well, imagine you actually now need to withdraw $2,000. Can you do that? They would say, yeah, of course. Okay, but would you be negative or in the positive? In that example, you would be in the negative. Okay, people understand the banking system. They understand that if they withdraw more than they have in there, they now owe money to the bank. But if they have more in there than what they're taking, cool, they can do more withdrawals. Hey, that's how net metering works. Essentially, if you use more power than what the system produces, then you have to pay X amount. If you use less, then the utilities will credit to you. And remember, every utility is different, so understand the net metering policies in your own specific market, but that's a great analogy to use to properly explain net metering. Here's another one, okay? A lot of the times people ask, well, what happens if I move, right? What happens if I move? That's a big question that we get. And a great way to explain it is the same thing as if they were to move currently without solar, okay? I know in my market in California, what I say is, hey, Mr. Customer, if you sold the house right now, would the next homeowners, would they inherit the utility that you're with? They would say, yeah, of course. Okay, well, do they have an option with what utility provider they want to go with? They would say, no, of course not. Okay, well, that's how it's set up here. With solar, when you move, same thing, the next homeowners, they inherit the same thing that you have, which we know is going to be a much better payment, a much lower payment, a more fixed and predictable payment. And then now they inherit the same thing that you have. Do you think the next owners would be upset with paying a much lower utility bill? Of course not, right? So when you say an analogy like, oh, that's true, if I move right now, even without solar, the next owners, they have to take over the Edison account, the SDG&E account, the Duke Energy account, right? The FPL account, whatever utility you're in. And they're like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Here's another great analogy to use as well. Well, what if they don't want it? What if they don't want it? We get that all the time. Usually what I'll say, okay, Mr. Homeowner, well, let me ask you this. Imagine you're shopping for a home. And let's just pretend that you don't like pools. Maybe you had a traumatic experience when you were a kid and you just don't want a pool. Do you think you would tell your realtor, hey, don't show me homes with pools? They would say, yeah, of course. Okay, well, for the people that don't like solar, chances are they're not even looking at your home because they probably already told their realtor that they don't want homes with solar. So chances are the people that look for your home will be people that already like solar. So they're not gonna not want the solar system. Would you agree that if you don't like something about a specific house, you probably don't want to get that, right? They'll say, yeah, of course. So that's a great analogy to use, kind of throw it back at them and let them know that, hey, if you didn't like anything else in the home, you probably wouldn't be looking for that anyways. So remember, these are just some examples of using analogies to be able to speak to the croc brain. 'Cause remember, the croc brain likes novelty, the croc brain likes newness, the croc brain likes things simplified. No one wants to hear something that they don't understand because it makes them feel dumb and they're like, man, it's gonna take me a lot of energy to fully understand it. So speak simple and watch how much your sales goes up.